overworld is burning in daylight, not from lava, but from ash that falls like grey snow, sticking to wheat fields and turning rivers into sludge. A raid horn wails somewhere unseen, then cuts off mid-note. In the distance, a village bell rings once, twice, then shatters. The ground trembles as if the world itself is trying to shake something loose. And beneath a ruined hill, a single nether portal flickers, its purple light pulsing like a heartbeat that is not sure it wants to keep going. If you want more stories that turn Minecraft upside down and follow the consequences all the way to the last torch, tap like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from and which structure you would defend if the overworld stopped being safe. The portal breathes out heat and they run through it anyway. They do not run toward adventure. They run away from a sky that has become hostile, away from nights that arrive early and never fully leave, away from something spreading through the caves that even iron cannot reason with. They run because the overworld has stopped keeping its promises. The first to cross is Mara, boots half-burned, hair full of soot. Behind her stumbles Jory with a bundle of bread pressed to his chest like a child. Then a line of villagers, faces blank with shock, hands still clutching the last things they grabbed. A flower, a book, a single emerald. A cleric mutters prayers that sound like trades. A farmer keeps looking back, as if the portal will close and trap his home on the other side. The nether hits them like an open furnace. The air tastes of metal and old smoke. Far below, lava seas churn, throwing up orange light that paints their cheeks like war paint. Ghasts cry out in the distance, slow and mournful, like something grieving itself. And above them, bridging a chasm, a fortress cuts across the darkness. Blackstone ribs and nether brick bones, lit by the steady, indifferent glow of blaze spawners. Mara sees it and feels something she hates to feel: relief. The fortress is supposed to be a place you raid, not a place you live. It is supposed to be a checkpoint on the way to something else. In the old stories, you came here for blaze rods, for nether wart, for the ingredients of escape. Then you left, but the overworld has made leaving the default impossible. On the far side of the bridge, a silhouette watches them approach. Armor catches the lava light, and a sword tip drags sparks from the brick. The figure does not raise a hand in greeting. Captain Rook had been holding the fortress for 3 weeks already, long before the ash began to fall. He had come for blaze rods like everyone else, but he had returned to the portal one night and found it wrong. The purple shimmer had thickened, as if the air itself had turned to gel. When he stepped through, the overworld did not greet him with wind and grass. It greeted him with silence. The sky was the color of bruised stone. Mobs stood still in the fields, as if waiting for a command. And under the village, in the mineshafts, something had been building. An echoing pulse that made torches dim and made the stones sweat. Rook had stepped back through the portal and made a decision that sounded like madness when he said it out loud. "We hold here," he told the handful of survivors with him. "We make this place a wall." Now, as Mara's group reaches the fortress gate, Rook watches their faces and counts their supplies with his eyes. He sees hunger, fear, and the kind of hope that turns into violence when it is denied. He does not open the gate right away. "Names," he calls, voice rough from nether air. "And what you bring." Mara steps forward, palms open. "Mara, I have iron, I have maps, I have people who will work." Rook's gaze flicks to the villagers. And mouths. Jory's grip tightens on his bread. We have food. Rook's laugh is short. Food rots. Nether does not care. Behind Rook, the fortress is not empty. It is alive in the way a barricade is alive, with movement, with watch rotations, with patched holes where wither skeletons have tested the walls. Piglins have been seen at the edges, curious and hungry for gold. Blazes drift in their corridors like sentries made of fire, indifferent to human plans. And deeper still, in a section of corridor sealed with cobblestone and signs that say, "Do not open," something scratches at night. Mara does not know that, the viewers do. The fortress has been a haven, yes, but it has also been a cage with something in the walls. The altered event happened quietly. The first time Rook killed a wither skeleton here, it did not drop a skull. It dropped a single shard of black glass that hummed when held. Rook kept it. He told himself it was a trophy. He told himself it was nothing. He did not tell anyone that it sometimes pulsed in his chest pocket like a second heart. Now he steps aside, and the gate grinds open. "Inside," he says. "Weapons down. If you steal, you leave. If you fight, you leave. If you open doors, you are told not to open." He pauses. The fortress crackles. Somewhere, a blaze pops like burning wood. "You leave," he finishes, and his eyes make it clear that leaving might be the same as dying. They flood in. The villagers gasp at the heat trapped in the bricks. Their sandals stick slightly to the floor where lava light has warmed the nether brick for centuries. The fortress smells like old smoke and iron, and something faintly sweet. Nether wart growing in a corner garden under soul lanterns. Mara's mind is already building. She sees choke points. She sees where to place beds, even though beds explode here. She sees where to hang banners, where to store food that will never grow. She sees the problem that will kill them, if nothing else does. Water does not exist in this dimension. In the overworld, a well is a comfort. Here, it is a myth. Rook leads them past a corridor where a wither skeleton patrols behind iron bars, trapped, pacing like a prisoner. Its hollow gaze follows them. A villager whimpers. "That one is ours," Rook says. "It keeps others away." Mara watches the skeleton's sword scrape the bars, and she does not like the way Rook says ours. Far away in the overworld, the last librarian of a swamp village sits alone in a half-flooded house, surrounded by books that are curling at the edges from damp ash. His name is El. He has not gone through the portal. He has stayed because someone has to remember where things were, and because he has seen something under the mangrove roots that makes his hand shake when he writes. He dips a quill and draws what he saw, a crack in the earth that glowed faintly purple. Not like portal light, but like an infection. When he leaned close, he heard whispering, as if the stone itself was trying to speak. El does not know the fortress has become a city. He only knows that the overworld is becoming unfamiliar, and that the old rules are breaking. On the first night in the fortress, Mara cannot sleep. No one can. The heat makes sweat bead on skin and evaporate instantly. The air is too still, as if breath hangs heavier. The villagers huddle in groups, eyes wide, listening to the fortress sounds. The clack of skeleton bones, the hiss of blazes, the distant boom of a ghast. Jory sits near the nether wart garden, staring at the red plants like they are a cruel joke. "This is food?" he whispers. "It is medicine," Mara answers. "It is survival. It is a trade." Rook walks the wall above them with 2 sentries. He stops at a corner where nether brick has been patched with basalt. He touches the brick with 2 fingers as if checking a fever. The shard in his pocket hums in response. In the morning, the first turning point arrives on a piglin barge. They come not in a swarm, but in a line, organized, gold armor glinting. They stand at the edge of the fortress bridge, crossbows raised but not firing. At their front is a brute with a scar across his snout and a crown made from bent gold ingots. He sniffs the air like he can smell fear. Rook steps out onto the bridge alone, shield on his arm, sword down. Heat waves distort his outline. The brute speaks in grunts and clicks, but the meaning is clear in the gesture. Open, share, pay. Mara watches from behind the gate, jaw tight. She has seen piglins trade when treated carefully. She has also seen them tear apart anyone who looked like they had gold and no allies. Rook raises a single gold ingot. The piglin brute's eyes lock on it. The fortress has gold in chests, taken from bastions, scavenged from ruined portals, mined from the nether's veins. It is currency, yes. It is also a beacon. Every ingot spent is a signal. There is more. Rook tosses the ingot. The brute catches it, bites it, then points at the fortress and makes a sweeping motion. More. Rook's voice carries back through the gate. We pay, we live. Mara steps forward, and for the first time her voice challenges his. We pay, we become a farm. Rook turns his head slightly, eyes not leaving the piglins. Then you have a better plan? Mara does. She just does not know if it will work. The piglins wait. Patient in the way predators are patient when they know the prey is cornered. Jory, shaking, reaches into his bundle and pulls out a single golden apple, its skin catching the lava glow like a small sun. He had been saving it. For what, he did not know. For a day that mattered. He walks to the gate. Mara grabs his arm. Do not. Jory looks at her with red-rimmed eyes. If we do nothing, they take everything anyway. He steps out, hands raised, and holds the golden apple out like an offering. The brute's nostrils flare. It steps forward, takes the apple, and for a moment, the bridge is silent except for lava bubbling far below. Then the brute laughs, a harsh sound, and bites. Gold flakes fall. The piglins behind it lower their crossbows a fraction. A trade has been made. A precedent has been set. Inside the fortress, Mara feels the world shift. This is not a raid. This is diplomacy under a blade. That night, Rook calls a council in a hall lit by soulfire. The blue flames make everyone look like ghosts. We need rules, Mara says, standing with her map spread on the nether brick table. Rations, rotations, a way to make water. A villager cleric shakes his head. No water, no crops, no life. Mara points to her map, to a marked spot near the fortress where basalt deltas meet soul sand valleys. There are pockets of warped forest. There are fungi. There are striders. There is lava. We can make a system. We can make it work. Rook listens, arms crossed. His gaze keeps drifting to the sealed corridor, as if he can hear something behind it. A blacksmith, hands scarred and trembling, speaks up. Or we go back. We clear the overworld. We take it back. Silence. Then a low murmur. The idea tastes like hope, and hope is dangerous. Mara's voice is quiet. Back to what? No one answers, because everyone remembers the ash, the broken bell, the mobs standing still like puppets waiting for strings. Rook finally speaks. We stay. We build. We trade with piglins when we must. We do not open the sealed corridor. A young villager, barely old enough to have a trade, blurts out, "What is in there?" Rook's eyes harden. A mistake. The second turning point comes not from outside, but from within. 3 days later, a scream echoes through the fortress at shift change. Mara runs toward it, boots slapping hot brick. She finds a storage room with its chest broken open, gold ingots scattered like teeth. A guard lies on the floor, armor dented inward. His eyes are open, but he is not breathing. No mobs could have done this. The door had been barred from the inside. Jory stands in the corner, hands raised, face pale. I heard him shouting. I came and he was already... Rook pushes through the crowd, sees the gold, sees the body, and something in him snaps into a colder shape. "Lock down," he orders. Villagers recoil. Mara steps between them and Rook's soldiers. "Do not turn this place into a prison." "It already is," Rook says, voice low. "I just decide who holds the keys." That night, Rook interrogates, and the fortress learns a new sound. The sharp crack of a door being kicked in, the muffled sob of someone dragged into a corridor, the quiet after. Mara sits with Jory on a stairwell listening. Jory's hands shake. "This is not what we ran for," he whispers. Mara stares at the nether brick, at the way the red seems darker now. "Safe havens always ask a price," she says. "The question is, who pays it?" In the overworld, El watches the swamp water recede, not from drought, but as if the world is draining itself. Fish flop in mud. Frogs sit still, eyes dull. He follows the retreating water to a cave mouth that yawns open like a wound. Inside, the air is cold, wrong. Skulk spreads across stone like frost. It pulses when he breathes too loudly. El has read about ancient cities, about wardens that listen instead of see. He has never believed the stories fully. Now he hears a deep, distant heartbeat under the earth, and belief becomes irrelevant. He backs away, but the skulk does not stay in the cave. It creeps toward the village, toward the last green things, toward the last bells. El turns and runs toward the nearest ruined portal, clutching his books like armor. He does not know if the Nether Fortress will take him. He does not know if it should. The third turning point arrives with fire and betrayal. The piglin brute returns, not alone. Behind him march brutes and crossbowmen, and between them they push a chained strider loaded with crates. The crates are marked with crude symbols: food, gold, arrows, tribute. Rook meets them on the bridge again, but this time he does not carry a single ingot. He carries a chest. He sets it down and opens it. Inside, gold. Yes, but also something else. The black glass shard nestled among the ingots like a seed. Mara's breath catches. She has never seen it before. Rook speaks softly, as if to himself. "Take this," he tells the piglin brute, and his tone is not negotiation. It is offering. The brute leans in, sniffing. Its eyes fix on the shard, and for the first time, uncertainty flickers across its face. It reaches out, touches it, and recoils as if burned. The shard hums louder. The air around it ripples. From the sealed corridor behind the gate, something answers with a scrape. Mara steps forward, voice sharp. "Rook, what is that?" Rook does not look at her. "A key," he says. "A way to make them fear us." The piglin brute snarls and raises its axe. The piglins behind it raise crossbows. The bridge becomes a line of drawn breath. And then, from the fortress roof, a single arrow flies. It strikes a piglin in the throat. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then the nether explodes into violence. Piglins scream and fire. Rook slams the chest shut and grabs it. sprinting back toward the gate as bolts thud into nether brick. Mara drags a villager down as an arrow whistles past. Jory, wide-eyed, grabs a shield and shoves it into Mara's hands. "Who shot?" Mara yells. No one answers, because the shooter is already running. A guard named Sable, one of Rook's own, had decided the piglins were a threat that could not be managed. She had decided the fortress needed war, not trade. And she had decided Rook was too soft. She had been wrong about one thing. Rook was not soft. He was desperate. The gate slams. The fortress trembles under impact as piglins crash against it. Crossbow bolts rattle like hail. Blazes drift into defensive positions, attracted by the chaos, and their fireballs turn the bridge into a killing field. Mara runs along the wall shouting orders, directing archers, pulling villagers into cover. She feels the fortress becoming what it was built to be, a machine for slaughter. In the middle of it, Rook clutches the chest to his chest, and the shard hums so hard it makes his teeth ache. He looks toward the sealed corridor, and he makes the decision he promised he would never make. "Open it," he orders. Mara hears him and spins. "No!" Rook's eyes are wild. "They will break through. We need something worse than them." "Something worse will not stop at them," Mara says. Rook does not answer. He shouts again, louder. Soldiers move toward the cobblestone barrier. Jory steps in front of them, trembling but standing. "If you open it," he says to Rook, "you will not be saving us. You will be choosing what kills us." For a moment, Rook hesitates. Then Sable appears behind Jory, blade flashing. Jory gasps, staggered. The bread bundle he carried from the Overworld falls, scattering crumbs onto nether brick like tiny gravestones. Mara screams his name and catches him as he falls. Blood looks too dark under soulfire. Sable's voice is tight with certainty. "We do not have time for mercy." Rook stares at Jory, at Mara holding him, at the villagers crying out. Something in him breaks cleanly. "Open it," he whispers, and this time the fortress obeys. Cobblestone cracks, dust puffs. The barrier falls inward. Cold air spills out, impossible in the nether. It smells like deep caves and wet stone. And something steps forward, tall and thin, made of shadow and bone, its head crowned with horns that are not horns, but the idea of horns. It carries a sword that looks like night sharpened. A wither skeleton, yes, but not like the others. Its empty eyes lock onto the shard in Rook's chest, and the shard hums like a scream trapped in glass. The fourth turning point is the revelation. The fortress had not been a refuge by accident. It had been chosen. Long ago, when the first portals were lit, something had been left in the Nether Fortress walls. An anchor, a fragment of the same darkness that sleeps under ancient cities. It had waited for fear, for population, for a place to become important enough to matter. Now it had both. The horned skeleton raises its sword, and the piglin assault outside falters as if they feel it too. Even blazes drift back, their fire dimming. Mara cradles Jory, and his breath comes in shallow pulls. His eyes find hers. "Do not. Let it be for nothing," he whispers. Mara swallows grief so hard it feels like swallowing stone. "It will not," she says, and she does not know if she is promising him or herself. Rook steps forward, chest heaving. "You will fight for us," he tells the horned skeleton. The skeleton tilts its head as if listening to a voice no one else can hear. Then it turns, not toward the piglins, but toward the fortress interior, toward the clustered villages. It takes a step. Mara's blood goes cold. "Rook," she says, voice low. "It is not on a leash." Rook raises the shard, holding it out like a command. The shard pulses. The skeleton pauses, and for a moment it seems to obey. Then the shard cracks. A thin fracture runs through it, and purple light leaks out like a wound. Rook's face changes. He looks, suddenly, like a man who has realized he has been holding a bomb by the fuse. Outside, the piglins crash the gate. Inside, the horned skeleton moves again, faster now. Sword lifting. The fortress becomes a storm of screams, fire, and shadow. Mara drags Jory behind a pillar and stands, bow drawn. She does not aim at piglins. She aims at Sable, who is backing toward a corridor with a satchel of stolen gold. Sable meets Mara's gaze and smiles like someone who believes history will forgive her. Mara releases. The arrow takes Sable in the shoulder, spinning her into the wall. The satchel bursts, gold clattering across the floor. Piglins surge toward the sound, eyes bright with greed, and in their hunger they trample their own. Sable looks up at Mara, hatred and fear mixing. "You just doomed us," she spits. Mara steps closer, voice shaking. "No," she says. "You did." Mara does not finish Sable. The Nether does. A blaze fireball detonates nearby, and when the smoke clears, Sable is gone, replaced by scorched brick and a few melted ingots fused into the floor. The fifth turning point comes from the Overworld, arriving too late and still changing everything. El staggers through the portal into the fortress courtyard, coughing from heat. His swamp clothes steam. He looks up and sees chaos, piglins pouring in, villagers screaming, blazes firing, and at the center a horned skeleton that makes his stomach drop. He clutches his book, pages fluttering. "It followed," he whispers, though no one hears him. Mara sees him and shouts, "Who are you?" El's eyes flick to Jory bleeding behind the pillar, to Rook holding a cracked shard, to the skulk-like coldness leaking from the opened corridor. He understands in a flash. The infection in the Overworld, the whispering stone, the draining rivers. It is not separate. It is connected. He runs to Mara, ducking a crossbow bolt. "The Overworld is falling into the deep," he says, breathless. "Skulk. It is spreading. It listens. It learns. And that thing," he points at the horned skeleton. "That is the same kind of hunger." Mara's mind snaps into focus. "How do you stop it?" El's laugh is a sob. "You do not stop it with swords." Rook hears them. He turns, eyes bloodshot. "Then with what?" El looks at the cracked shard in Rook's hand. "You close the anchor," he says. "You bury it where it cannot call. Or you destroy it." Rook stares at the shard like it is a betrayal. "It cannot be destroyed," he says, and the certainty in his voice is not knowledge. It is fear talking. Mara looks at the fortress around them, at the villagers who ran here believing in safety, at Jory's pale face. She looks at the open corridor spilling cold into the Nether, like poison into a wound, and she makes a choice that will define this timeline. "Then we trap it," she says. "We make the fortress the last safe haven by turning it into the last prison." Rook laughs, sharp. "And who locks it?" Mara's eyes flick to the bridge, to the lava below, to the basalt deltas beyond. "Someone who can live with the key." Rook's grip tightens on the shard. The fracture widens and purple light pulses brighter. The horned skeleton swings its sword and a villager falls, turning to ash in a heartbeat, as if the blade stole not life, but time. The crowd recoils and the fortress feels suddenly small. Mara moves. She shouts to the remaining guards, to the villagers who can still stand. Basalt, she yells. Build walls. Funnel them. Push everything toward the corridor. They obey because she sounds like certainty, and certainty is rare. Piglins, sensing gold and blood, surge deeper, colliding with the horned skeleton's path. For the first time, the skeleton turns its sword on them. Piglins die in heaps, their gold armor clattering. The brute roars, swinging wildly, but the skeleton does not flinch. Rook watches, horrified and fascinated. It is fighting them, he says. It is feeding, El answers, voice flat. Mara reaches Jory again. His breathing is shallow. She presses a hand to his chest, feeling the weak thump. Stay, she whispers, though she knows he might not. Jory's eyes open, glassy. Mara, he says, and the word is a question. She leans close. I am here. His gaze drifts past her, to the fortress ceiling, to the soul fire. Do you think the Overworld will remember us? Mara's throat tightens. It will, she says, and she hates that she does not know if she is lying. The climax arrives in a corridor lit by blue flames and orange lava glow, where the Nether itself seems to hold its breath. Mara, Rook, and El drag iron blocks and basalt into place, building a trap around the opened corridor. They create a funnel, a choke point leading into the cold darkness. The plan is brutal. Lure the horned skeleton back into its cell, then seal it with obsidian and nether brick, then collapse the bridge behind it so it cannot be reached again. A safe haven built on a sealed door. The piglin brute charges, axe raised, straight at Rook. Rook lifts his shield, but his arm trembles. He's not fighting piglins anymore. He's fighting the consequences of his own choice. Mara shoots the brute in the knee. It stumbles, snarling. El throws a splash potion of weakness that he brewed from stolen netherwort and the last spider eye he carried like a relic. The potion shatters, purple mist rising. The brute slows, confused, then collapses under the press of its own soldiers. Rook looks at El, shocked. El's hands shake. Books are not useless, he says, voice thin. Behind them, the horned skeleton advances, stepping over bodies without looking down. Its sword drips darkness that evaporates before it hits the floor. Mara stands in the funnel entrance and shouts, "Here!" The skeleton's head turns toward her. For a moment, she feels seen by something that does not have eyes. Rook grips the shard, and it pulses weakly like a dying star. He holds it up, trying to command. The skeleton pauses, then takes a step toward the shard. It wants it. Mara backs into the corridor, heart hammering. Heat fades. Cold wraps around her skin. The nether behind her roars, but in this corridor the sound dims as if swallowed. Rook follows, shard held out. El follows behind him, carrying flint and steel and a single block of TNT like a prayer. They lead the skeleton deeper into the sealed section where Rook first found the shard. The walls here are different, older, etched with patterns that look like portal frames and skulk veins combined. Mara reaches the end chamber. There is a pit in the center, a square hole dropping into darkness. Purple light seeps up from it. The air hums. "This is where it calls," El whispers. The skeleton steps into the chamber, and the purple light brightens in response, as if recognizing kin. Rook's voice breaks. "I thought it would protect us." Mara does not soften. It protected itself. The skeleton lunges. Mara dives aside. Rook raises the shard instinctively, and the skeleton's sword slams into it. Glass shatters. Purple light explodes outward, a shockwave that throws all three of them against the walls. For a heartbeat, the Nether Fortress above groans, bricks vibrating. The skeleton staggers, as if wounded by the loss of what it wanted. El scrambles up, blood on his forehead. He looks at the pit, at the purple glow. He looks at the TNT in his hand. "If the anchor is below," he says, voice trembling, "then we bury it." Rook pushes himself up, staring at the broken shard pieces on the floor. He looks older than he did an hour ago. "And the fortress?" he asks. Mara answers for him. "It becomes the last safe haven because nothing can leave it. Not us, not it." Rook looks at her, a silent question. "Are you willing?" Mara glances back toward the corridor, toward where villagers are fighting and dying for a home in hell. She thinks of Jory's question. She thinks of the overworld ash falling on wheat. "Yes," she says. El strikes flint. Sparks catch. The TNT hisses. Rook grabs El's arm. "Go," he orders, voice suddenly clear. "You two go." Mara grabs his wrist. "No." Rook's eyes flick to the corridor, to the fortress, to the people. "This was my key," he says. "My mistake. I lock it." Mara's jaw tightens, but she sees the truth. If she drags him out, he will find another key. He will keep trying to control what cannot be controlled. El's eyes shine with tears that evaporate in the heat beyond the chamber. "Captain." Rook pushes them toward the corridor. "Run." Mara runs, because if she does not, everyone dies for nothing. El runs, clutching his book to his chest like it can shield him from grief. Behind them, Rook stands at the pit's edge, TNT hissing in his hand, purple light painting his armor like a crown. The explosion is not loud. It is deep. The fortress shudders. The chamber collapses inward, swallowing purple light, swallowing cold air, swallowing the horned skeleton's scream into a soundless void. Mara and El are thrown forward by the shockwave, sliding on nether brick. Dust rains from the ceiling. Blazes flicker out and back on like torches in wind. For a moment, everything is still. Then the piglins, leaderless and spooked, retreat, dragging their wounded, leaving behind scattered gold and dead heat. The fortress stands, but it feels different, heavier, like a lid placed on a boiling pot. In the aftermath, Mara crawls back to Jory. He is still there, barely. She presses a golden apple slice to his lips, and he chews weakly. He swallows, eyes closing. "Did we win?" he whispers. Mara looks around at the burned corridors, at the missing faces, at the sealed corridor now buried under collapsed brick and obsidian. She hears villagers sobbing softly. She hears the distant Nether, unchanged. "We lived," she answers. Jory exhales, a thin sound that might be laughter. "That is something." Weeks pass. The fortress becomes a city with rules carved into nether brick. Gold is rationed. Trades with piglins become rare, cautious, conducted through iron bar windows. The garden expands. Nether wart and warped fungi tended like sacred things. They build basalt cisterns to catch condensation from heat differences, a slow, miserable drip that becomes their water. Every drop is counted. El becomes the fortress's memory. He writes names of the dead in a book that never leaves his belt. He draws maps of the overworld from memory, biomes that might already be gone. Sometimes he stands at the portal room and listens to the purple shimmer as if it might speak. But the portal does not open anymore. It flickers, it pulses, it refuses. The collapse sealed more than a monster. It sealed their way home. Mara walks the walls at shift change, watching the lava sea roll like a restless ocean. She watches striders bob in the distance, their saddles empty. She watches the horizon for piglin banners. She also watches her people, Some villagers adapt, trading and building, their fear turning into routine. Others stare at the portal until their eyes go dull, then wander into corridors and do not come back. A few whisper that Rook died a hero. A few whisper he died a tyrant. Mara does not correct them. Both stories keep the fortress steady in different ways. Jory survives, but he has changed. He limps. He laughs less. He spends his days baking what little they can bake, shaping bread from fungus and grit, insisting on rituals of normal life. Sometimes Mara finds him staring at a handful of crumbs, as if remembering the moment they fell on the floor like tiny graves. One night, long after the fires are banked, Mara stands alone at the collapsed corridor. Obsidian blocks and nether brick form a scar in the fortress, a sealed mouth. She presses her palm to the cold stone. It is cold. In the nether, cold is a warning. El joins her, quiet. "Do you hear it?" he asks. Mara listens. At first, nothing. Then, faintly, a vibration, like a heartbeat under stone. "It is still there," she says. El nods. Anchors do not die easily. Mara closes her eyes. She thinks of the overworld, of birch forests and rain, of snow that was once white. She thinks of villagers who will never see grass again. She thinks of a fortress that is now the last safe haven because it is the last place the infection cannot reach, or the last place it has not reached yet. When she opens her eyes, the soul fire torches flicker just once, as if something beneath the obsidian has exhaled. Far above, in the portal room, the purple shimmer pulses like a heartbeat that is learning a new rhythm. And deep in the sealed dark, something scratches patiently at the underside of the world, waiting for the day the last safe haven finally forgets why it locked the door.